Do you ever wonder why you engage in retail therapy as soon as you're stressed? Or why you cheap out on even the basic necessities? It's not just about your willpower, your environment, or how you were raised, although those are definitely a part of it. It also has a lot to do with the Venus aspects in your natal chart. So, the conversations that Venus has with other planets in your natal chart can really help decipher whether you are a saver or a spender. And that is the topic of today's video. So, if you want to know more, stick around. You definitely don't want to miss this. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If you're new around here, hi, hello. My name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer and sound therapist, and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So if you're new, welcome. And as always, if you're returning, welcome back. So today's video is all about deciphering whether you're a saver or a spender. Now, it's not so black and white. We tend to have a lot of different qualities along this spectrum. However, what is of utmost importance is the fact that to decipher which one you are, your Venus aspects can speak directly to that. So again, the aspects have to do with the conversations that Venus is having with other planets in your natal chart. Aspects in astrology are the relation between planets in your natal chart, typically by degree. So if two planets are exactly next to each other, or if you've got two planets that are 90 degrees between them, or 180 degrees between them, those degrees and those relationships are known as aspects. And you can think of them as like conversations that these two planets are having. And the subject matter of these conversations can directly correlate to your personality, your situations in life. Aspects can tell you a whole bunch. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to talk about Venus aspects, spending, and saving. So without further ado, let's get into it. So like I said in my previous videos on Venus, Venus talks about your earning style. It talks about your finances, how you attract money, what feels good to you in terms of money. I mean, Venus is more than about money, but of course, for the sake of this series, we are focusing on money. So when we talk about Venus aspects show how you value, how you love, and how pleasure instincts interact with other energies in your chart. Remember, I said aspects are the conversations that the planets have between each other. And so whatever conversations Venus is having with other planets will directly correlate to your earning style, your earning potential, how you value things, and what you find pleasurable that you would want to do, perhaps in order to make money. All right. So when we talk about aspects, I'm going to be separating them into two groups: hard aspects and soft aspects. Hard aspects are situations or conversations that are hard, that are harsh, that deal with obstacles, delays, challenges, frustrations. And then on the other hand, soft aspects or conversations that are harmonious, peaceful, free flowing, positive. All right. So without further ado, let's get into it, and let's begin with hard aspects, which means that Venus is having a kind of tough conversation with other planets in your natal chart. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm not going to go through every planet, but I will go through the outer planets, or I should say the mid to outer planets, meaning like Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Okay. When Venus has conversations with these planets, they tend to be a little weightier as opposed to when Venus is like talking to the sun, the moon, or Mercury. Those are still important, but it's the outer planet conversations that really like pack a punch. All right. So let's begin with hard aspects. Now, hard aspects include conjunctions, squares, and oppositions. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, if it's going over your head, I will link below a video that I made on the basics of astrology aspects. So you may want to watch that first So pause it, watch that first. The link is in the description box below so you can get acclimated to aspects so you kind of understand a little bit more of what I'm talking about. And if you want to know even more, join me over in Cosmic Collective where I will be breaking this down on a much deeper level. But needless to say, back to hard aspects, which are again conjunctions, squares, and oppositions. Now, a conjunction is when two planets are at the same degree. Squares are when two planets are 90 degrees apart. And oppositions are when two planets are 180 degrees apart. So first, Venus conjunct Mars. This conversation could entail impulse spending, instant gratification, money and energy equals action. So Venus conjunct Mars, you want to take action and you want to do it in a way that could be reckless, bold, and impulsive. Next, we've got Venus square Jupiter. And this could be a conversation surrounding overspending, treating yourself, excess. I want you to think of Venus square Jupiter as excess, doing the most when it comes to money. You want to feel good. This is very much a retail therapy kind of aspect, okay? And so this particular aspect requires moderation to combat that excessive energy. Then we've got Venus square Saturn, okay? And so this could really talk about saving. This is the type of aspect that talks about penny pinching and being disciplined with your money, okay? Venus square Saturn is cautious. It can sometimes be fearful when it comes to money. And you must learn to have an abundance mindset. That penny pinching typically comes from lack. And so to combat that, you would want to be more in alignment with abundance. All right. Next, Venus opposite Uranus. Now, I want to say that this list isn't exhaustive. This is just some of the more prominent Venus aspects that I think you should know about. All right. But again, Venus opposite Uranus. This makes your finances unpredictable. So whether it talks about being a saver or a spender, it could go either way because this could be sudden splurges, sudden income bursts. It could also be sudden desire to save, feeling, financially responsible all of a sudden. So when it comes to Venus opposite Uranus, it literally could go either way. Then we've got Venus square Neptune. This is definitely more on the spender side, all right? And this is an idealistic spender. You spend without boundaries. If it feels good, maybe not even the moment, but if it feels good, if it contributes to your creativity, you're likely to spend on it. So for this aspect, you got to get out of the fantasy world and get more into reality, and budgeting for that creative flow is going to be your best friend. Then finally, in terms of the hard aspects, we've got Venus opposite Pluto. And this is themes of power and control. So with this aspect, it could really go either way in the sense that spending is tied to emotions, it's tied to psychology, it's tied to security, or even saving could be the same way too. The psychology of lack, of fear could really have you penny pinching. So when it comes to Venus opposite Pluto, same thing. Well, not same thing because Venus square Neptune was definitely a spender. Venus opposite Pluto could definitely go either way, but keep in mind that that particular aspect is power and control themes. It can be very intense, okay? Now let's move on to the softer aspects. These are the aspects that are free flowing, that are peaceful, harmonious, and abundant. And in terms of the aspects, the particular aspects that are soft aspects, these are trines and sextiles. And again, if you want to know more, the link to my aspect video is in the description box below. Okay, so first, Venus trine Jupiter. This is one of the most positive and abundant aspects, okay? And so this is a natural money magnet. This is generosity with money. This is an optimistic spender. This is spending that feels good, but that also has a return. You know how they talk about it, you got to spend money to make money? Venus trine Jupiter is doing that, and then the money multiplies. Like that's one of the best aspects to have or to experience when it comes to abundance and spending. Then we've got Venus trine Saturn. This is definitely on the saver side, but not saving out of fear or lack. This is saving because you're disciplined in a healthy way when it comes to money. You've got long-term goals. You know what you want to do. You're budgeting, you're investing. So Venus trine Saturn is great for saving and building a nest egg. Then we've got Venus trine Uranus, and Uranus is the planet of surprises. So any Uranus aspect or Uranus conversation is always going to go either way. Now, when it comes to spending or saving, particularly spending, Venus trine Uranus is an innovative spender. Okay. But when it comes to saving or at least structuring your money, it could denote investing in tech or creative projects. So getting structured around using your money in a constructive kind of way, I guess that still sort of speaks to spending. But it could also be saving for the future. Okay. So Venus trine Uranus could go either way. And then finally, we've got Venus trine Pluto. And this is being very strategic with money. So this aspect could go either way when it comes to saving or spending. Being strategic with money, understanding investment power, but also understanding timing when it comes to investments, or even understanding timing when it comes to spending money. Venus trine Pluto is great for changing your financial situation for the better. It's also great for knowing when to save, knowing when to put money in a particular investment vehicle. It's a very powerful kind of aspect that really speaks to either saving or spending. Now, one important thing that I should have mentioned at the beginning, but I'll definitely mention now, and that's of utmost importance, is that when we're talking about aspects, you can talk about them in two ways. For the sake of this series, we're more so talking about aspects in your natal chart, your natal Venus, and what conversations it's having with other planets in your natal chart. So all of these hard aspects and soft aspects that I talked about, this is what's happening in your natal chart. It is your blueprint. But it's also important to mention that aspects can also speak to transits. This could be if Venus is currently trine to Pluto currently, or if Pluto now in the sky is trining your natal Venus. Aspects work on different levels. They work natally, so what's going on in your natal chart, in your blueprint, or transit wise, what's going on currently in the sky, or what's going on currently in the sky as it relates to your natal chart. But again, you want to think about what I've talked about in terms of your particular natal chart. What conversations are Venus having, or is Venus having, with the other planets in your natal chart? If you're familiar with your Venus aspects, comment below with your Venus aspects and let us know what kind of money conversations is Venus having in your natal chart. All right, so let's get into why this matters and some quick integration tips. So this matters because Venus aspects directly speaks to your money behavior. Like I said before, it can determine whether you're a saver or a spender. But more generally speaking, it can give you more information with respect to your earning style. If you know that you've got Venus trine Pluto, you know that when it comes to earning, there is great potential there in terms of transformation, also in terms of control and power. There's a lot of earning potential there with that particular aspect. And then when it comes to saving or spending, you know that there's a lot of power there too. So it could go either way. So like I said, it talks about your behavior when it comes to money, whether you're a saver or a spender, or just gives you more information on your earning style and earning potential. Okay. So hard aspects highlight lessons around impulse, discipline, or worth. Okay. And so when it comes to conjunctions, squares, or trines in your natal chart, this can clue you in as to perhaps what you need to work on, where you need to have more discipline, where you need to maybe up your self-worth even so you can up your earning potential. Not all is lost if you have a hard aspect or if Venus is having a difficult conversation with another planet in your natal chart. That just tells you that that's an area of life that you can change, but you're going to have to do some work to do so. Next, soft aspects show where things flow naturally. So if you've got Venus trining another planet or even sextiling another planet, this can let you know that this is an area of life, or this is a situation, or this is an action that you're naturally inclined to. So you would want to take advantage of that. When you know that something works, you can double down on it to get better results. And so if you have a soft Venus aspect in your natal chart, you can do just that. And then finally, awareness turns patterns into power. So you can choose alignment over reaction, right? When you know what kind of aspects you have in your natal chart, you understand them. And like I said, like if you've got a soft aspect, you can double down on it. Or if you realize that you've got a hard aspect with Venus and it requires you to do some work or learn some lessons, now you're living in alignment. Now you're not just doing random things that feel arduous or are not working. Now you can literally pinpoint what works, what naturally flows, and where you need to do some work so that you can make changes. Either way, Venus aspects gives you more information so you can make informed decisions so that you're not reactive, but you can be proactive. And speaking of proactivity, that is a major component of my signature experience, the blueprint. This isn't just another natal chart reading where you get the information, then you forget it. This is about pinpointing where you can be proactive in changing your money situation. Plus, I give you a 30-day money map so you know exactly what steps to take that are in alignment with your chart so that you can be proactive instead of reactive. So if you're interested in signing up for the blueprint, the first step would be booking a free clarity call where we can decide if the blueprint is even right for you, and if so, how we can get started. So if you want to book that clarity call, the link is in the description box below. Okay, so to recap, Venus aspects are the conversations that Venus is having in your natal chart. And when you know what kind of conversations she's having, you not only know more about your earning style, but you can understand how to be proactive, whether it comes to saving or spending, investing, or whether it comes to certain lessons or adjustments that you will need to make in order to change your financial situation. All right. And that stuff is definitely invaluable if you ask me. All right, my loves, so that's pretty much all I've got for this video in terms of Venus aspects and spending or saving. All right, I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important piece of information that you can use to change your financial situation. All right, don't forget to join us over in Cosmic Collective if you want more. Don't forget to take the Abundance Archetypes quiz. And also don't forget to enter the giveaway and share this video if you found it useful. All right, and the link to all of that will be in the description box below. All right, and so now in my next video tomorrow, we're gonna start moving into Venus's pairing with other planets. And the first planet that we're gonna talk about is Venus and Mars and what that could mean for your side hustle life. All right, you definitely don't wanna miss that. So set notifications and subscribe if you haven't already. All right, my loves, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.